Can you hear me? Great, fantastic. So I'm Jamie. My day job is lead software engineer at Broadcast Radio. I'm here on my own today because I'm not here to sell any products. I'm here to talk to you about smart speakers. So a lot has probably happened since your radio station very first went on a smart speaker 5-10 years ago now. The platform's come along a very long way. Some things have gotten better, some things have gotten worse. Some things are still exactly the same. Amazon still have basically the win on the market share. So there are other manufacturers available, but Amazon currently are winning. So Amazon have an open platform. You can develop skills that can do a whole variety of things. Not just radio, you could have a skill that, I don't know, is a calculator, could be anything. But of course, you need to be able to write code to do that. So what Amazon have done very recently is they've introduced this lovely new no-code way of building a radio skill. So let's look a little bit into the background of why they've done that. So a couple of years ago, the government announced this new media bill. We probably don't care much about it as technologists, but there are a couple of things in there that are quite useful for us. The main one being that platforms that kind of gatekeep smart speakers need to start to open things up and be fair to any terrestrial broadcaster. So different platforms have different ways of doing that. Amazon, we think, have reacted with this new radio skills kit. There's no enforcement from a Ofcom side until about 2025-26, but Amazon seem to be a little bit ahead of the curve. What about everyone else? So there's Google Assistant. We don't talk about the Google Assistant, but let's talk about it for a little bit. So Google, for whatever reason, they decided to end their equivalent of Alexa skills. So Google called them conversational actions. They were basically the same thing as an Alexa skill, just on your Google Assistant. In 2023, for whatever reason, Google decided to sunset that platform. So what are your options for getting on a Google Assistant as a radio station? Sadly, not very much at the moment. You can either have a mobile app that has sort of a Chromecast functionality built into it. If you have a tune-in slot, remember tune-in? You're probably still going to work, or if you are a very big media company, you might still be lucky enough to have a slightly custom integration on Google. But that's okay, because as we established, most people don't use Google. Everyone uses Amazon Echo. In fact, a lot of the smaller manufacturers who make smart speakers have started to adopt Amazon's Alexa technology. So Sonos, for example, their smart speakers are based on Alexa. So if you ask Alexa to do something, it will do it. So with Google, really, my interpretation is techie people are probably the people who are going to have a Google smart speaker. So you'd hope they'd know how to play a radio station on it without us having to hold their hand. So what's happened with radio skills? Why do we need this new radio skills kit? So the Alexa landscape has changed quite a lot since skills were first released. If you are a very, very big broadcaster, i.e. you have a skill that is very popular, that's great because the Alexa algorithm has over time gotten very, very used to hearing Open BBC Sounds or Open Global Player. But if you're Bob FM in Hertfordshire, I don't think that's a real radio station, it might be, then yeah, Alexa's probably not, one, very good at recognizing Bob FM Hertfordshire. Two, how does Alexa know where your location is? Because Alexa programs, at the end of the day, they're just computer programs. They're not particularly smart. You have to kind of work within the confines that Amazon give you. So practically, that's meant that smaller stations have found it really difficult to get their Alexa skill to work. So unless you're lucky enough to have a tune-in slot, you might have found as a student or community station that your skill just doesn't work, it doesn't trigger, or you have to say some very strange, what we call an invocation, like Alexa, open skill Bob FM, which is a very unnatural way to start a radio station. So tune-in, as we touched on before, you can still use tune-in as a way to get on radio, to get your radio station on Alexa. And this works because Amazon used tune-in as a bit of a database for radio stations. So Alexa conceptually understands that your tune-in stream is a radio station. So they can start to do slightly cleverer things like work out based on your location what radio station you're after. If you've got, two hearts, which heart are you after? Are you after London or are you after Milton Keynes? But TuneIn, of course, as some of us probably know if we've tried to launch a radio station in the last few years, they don't accept new stations unless you are lucky enough to have a contact there, which I am not. But TuneIn, even if you do manage to get a slot, there are some changes that they seem to have made to their platform. The key one is that there have been quite a few reports that they are inserting their own mid-rolls into your streams. So maybe 5 or 10 minutes into playing your station, all of a sudden, you're getting a random advert that's been inserted by TuneIn that's completely interrupting your stream, interrupting your program. Not ideal. The listener's going to come back and they're going to have missed, either half of their favorite song or whatever you're playing on the radio. So TuneIn is becoming a slightly less useful option for broadcasters. So what else is there out there? We've got Radio Player. So Radio Player is fantastic if you are a terrestrial station. Of course, you have to be a terrestrial station to be on Radio Player. So Radio Player automatically, I believe, includes all of their stations in their one big Alexa skill. So if you're on Radio Player, you can say, Alexa, ask Radio Player to open XYZ. Now, of course, that's a slightly unnatural way of triggering your radio station. So, going back to the problems that we have and why we need something new. Alexa skills are very generic programs. So, to Alexa, your skill, it has no way really of understanding what it is. It doesn't know this is a radio skill. It's just a computer program. Like we've touched on, that makes it very hard to do custom things that are a little bit more, what you'd be used to in radio, like mapping locations, and even more so recently, as some people might have found, the Alexa algorithm seems to, if you say words like play or radio or FM, the algorithm seems a little bit more likely now to take you to a music streaming service instead of the actual radio station you're after. But of course, if you're a larger station and you have millions of people, hopefully, activating your skill each day, the Alexa model, it reinforces itself. It works on a reinforcive model. Every single time someone asks Alexa to play your radio station, Alexa uses that in its built-in training to reinforce itself. So the more popular the radio station is, the more likely your radio station is to be activated. So, great. So what do we do about this as smaller broadcasters? So of course, I mentioned the Radio Skills Kit, and let's have a look at it. So as I said, it's a no-code way of adding your station to Alexa. It quite literally, the format that they ask you to submit your station in, it is basically a spreadsheet. There is a kind of table with your location, they want your coordinates, streaming URLs, they'll want a link to your logo, that kind of thing. You quite literally go onto Amazon's website, log in with your account, click New, Add Radio Station, pop in all your links, press Submit, and if you're lucky, within about 2 to 3 months, Amazon will approve you and your radio station will be live. So, it seems like a little bit of a no-brainer, perhaps, to put your radio station on, not TuneIn, on the Amazon Radio Skills Kit. But there are, of course, some downsides versus a custom skill. So there's not particularly good support for metadata. I mean, custom skills don't have good support for metadata anyway. But if you're trying to do more custom things, your radio skill can only play audio. It can't do anything more complicated. So if you have a more custom skill that does something like a message to studio function. Let's say you have the ability for your listener to record a little message, send it into the studio, and then you play that on air. Unfortunately, if you switch over to using the new Radio Skills Kit, that is not supported, and your listeners will stop being able to do that. So yes, I've gotten a bit ahead of myself here. So there is a catch. So it can take, up to 2 months for Amazon to approve these new skills. Sometimes it can take longer, sometimes it can take shorter. It really seems to depend on how many staff they have working, which is fair. But that time also applies to any changes. So if you are planning a branding change, if you're suddenly moving to a new streaming provider, you submit these changes to the form, but you have to wait another 2 months for Amazon to accept them. Within that time, your listeners are still seeing your old station, either name, branding, Or, in the worst case, they've got a completely naff link, so your station doesn't work at all. So there are solutions to this. Obviously, one option is that you could buy a commercial product. One such product is the broadcast radio platform that I work on. Of course, other products are available, and I'm not here to sell that. If you would like a free option for doing that, something you can DIY, you can use a link shortener like bit.ly. So you could save your stream link into, for example, bit.ly/my radio station stream. And then if you save that on your account, you can go back in and edit that at any point, and Amazon won't have to approve your changes, and you've saved yourself 2 months. So let's have a look at your old-fashioned skills versus your radio skills. So like I said, they're not perfect for all broadcasters. There is the ability to kind of do a seamless transition one direction. So you can deprecate your old custom skill and have it get routed towards your wonderful new skill. Once you've done that, though, of course, Amazon will deprecate your old skill. And if you had any kind of custom stuff like messaging studio features, unfortunately, those will stop working. You could also submit this and not tick the box to deprecate your old skill and have both going. There doesn't really seem to be, as far as I can tell, much of a disadvantage to doing that. It just means you've got your skill, but you've also got yourself on Amazon's built-in list of radio stations. So yeah, if you are a very large broadcaster, this might not be appropriate for you because you can't do things like require listeners to sign in or link to their account to activate the stream. So you're probably best off, if you need that custom stuff, sticking with what you've got. So I filmed a very short demo video that basically shows really how quick it is to add your station to the Radio Skills Kit. Now, I didn't speed this up. I probably should have sped it up. So yeah, you click add, you provide your station name. You can provide a bunch of alternative invocation words. So if you have slightly different variations on your station name, you can provide them all in there. For the call sign, they basically want you to put your station name in again. Frequency, kind of self-explanatory. Location information, also kind of self-explanatory. This is quite handy. You can put in your latitude and longitude, and if you have multiple regional variations of a station, Amazon will recognize that, and if you ask for, let's say, Bob, and you've got a local Bob and another Bob, you will get your local Bob. So yeah, quite literally provide your stream link, URLs, and click submit. And that's really all there is to submitting one of these lovely new radio skills. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Yeah, I think we've got time for some questions.
We have a quick question here we can just about squeeze in if we've got the magic box.
Who has the magic box?
Who's
It's
taking
normally
it
my
home?
job to throw it around. Multitasking.
Here it comes. We might know you'd have it.
Oh!
I just wondered, what's in it for Amazon? Because surely they're about trying to make, Jeff Bezos wants to make a profit out of all this stuff. And this, I mean, you may not know. I just was,
That's a very good question. I think we could speculate. It's hard to say, but I imagine with a lot of big tech, there's the kind of generally accepted, if something's free, they're probably doing something with the data that you're providing it to make money off of that. That would be my guess. I couldn't say for sure, though, but I would probably put some money on that.
Do you think they're going to extend it at all, Amazon? Do you think Amazon will extend the scope?
I sure hope so. Yeah, so the way that we've sort of been seeing them move, they seem to have taken a few staff off of the project, but then put some more staff back on it. So I'm hoping that means that they're going to be rolling out some lovely new things soon. Maybe metadata. That's on my Christmas list.
Thank you, Jamie Woods.